Live. You're listening to with Men, the podcast.
This is Men, the podcast. Karibu tena kwenye episode nyingine ya Men, the podcast, ambapo what we do tunazungumzia na kuunpack kuhusiana na mental health for men. Podcast yetu ni ya Tanzania, inatengenezwa na Tanzania, inapatikana YouTube. Go subscribe. Nadhani hapa chini inaonekana the name of our YouTube channel. Please go subscribe and share it with everybody else. But then if unasikiza kwenye audio, it's pretty much everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Boomplay, Audio Mac, YouTube Music now, and everywhere else. So just go subscribe, give us a rating, acha comment as well. Let us know what you're thinking. We are always seeking the ways to improve. So feedback is really important. We appreciate you. Vibaya mnoni at Men the Podcast on X / Twitter. Now at Men the Podcast on Instagram. Kuna mtu ananiambia, keep saying Twitter. There's no longer Twitter.
There's no Twitter.
So I'm out here to prove your point. X. Right? There's a link kwenye bio ambayo itakupeleka kwenye all platforms ambazo unaweza ukatupata. Lakini vile send us a tweet, send us a DM, tell us what you're thinking, give us some feedback, na vile kama kuna mtu au issue ambao nadhani ungependa tuzungumzie, please let us know. It is very important. Sio space ya mimi na Nadia, is everybody's space. Nadia, what's good? Life's good. I knew you'd say that. Life is good.
Life is good.
Nothing to complain.
There are things to complain about, but rather not.
You're being
because
grateful.
They will still be there. Yeah. So what's the point?
You're being grateful.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. Nadia is our own resident psychologist. Ukitaka kumpata ni @mindmattertz on X, @mindmattertz on Instagram. There's a link kwenye bio ambayo itakupeleka either kwenye website, itakupeleka kwenye website yake, and then kuna means ambazo unaweza ukatumia kutaka kuwasiliana naye. Kila siku I've made it my mission kuambia watu kwamba if you can, go get a therapy. Yeah. Go, nenda kwenye therapy. Na for me, I always think of the best time to go kwenye therapy is when you think like everything is good.
Yes.
Because that's when your mind is settled. You can literally think about things vizuri. So subiri wakati maili imezama.
Yeah, then you're just dealing with emotions ambazo they're like children.
Yeah.
So you don't really expect children to make the best of decisions
100%.
all the time.
100%. And it's an ongoing issue. It's go deal with your issues. We all should. And as men, we should unpack more. So yeah, you guys go ahead and do that. Sunday Kapesi.
Yes, sir.
How are you, my guy?
All is well with my soul.
All is well with your soul.
I like that.
I'm gonna use that somewhere. I'm gonna use that somewhere someday. So before I go on na introduce Sunday, I first couple weeks ago, The Citizen, wakati wa mwezi wa afya, akili, mwanaume in June. So The Citizen walifanya space, The Citizen newspaper walifanya X space / Twitter. Yes. They did a space ambayo ilikuwa inazungumzia kuhusiana mambo ya mental health na focus kwa mwanaume. So they invited me as one of the panelists, really. First I started as a panelist, but then wakaniweka kwa moderator, baadaye nikawa co-moderator. Point is, I was invited.
You were there.
I was there. Kulikuwa kuna watu wengi, Balozi Togolani was there, and give a shout out to Togolani. Here is guys, I've been on the podcast twice. Yeah. So I hope now akija tuzungumza naye kama Balozi. But yeah, and that's also where I met Sunday. Sunday was also on that space. And I was really intrigued by his story. And for me, he started talking about his routine, the things he does right now, to maintain his health and his well-being. And then he gave a little bit of background story in terms of him recovering from addictions, the fight, and vitu kama hivyo. So I was like, immediately I sent him a DM, like, my guy, we gotta catch up. Give me a number, and then we reach out. So he gave me his number. Tararoi did a little bit of chatting, and then nikaja kuongea na Nadia. Nadia was like, I know Sunday.
Small world.
Yeah.
I know Sunday through my best friend. Well, we were best friends.
Yeah.
Everyone is my best friend as long as we've been friends since childhood.
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law.
Oh, wow.
Camille. I think you guys studied. Yes.
Yeah.
Camille always talks about Sunday.
No.
I'm like, but I know Sunday.
Yeah, my
His younger sister
is deputy head boy. Back
yes.
A deputy head boy.
Yeah.
Such a title. Such a title. Deputy
he
head
always
boy.
speaks about it. I'm like, but I know Sunday.
Yeah, that's cool. So when Nadia was saying, I was like, okay, this is interesting. We might as well get him on the podcast. Now get him to kuweza kuzungumza. That was number 1. Number 2, kulifanyaga episode moja na Madenge, if you remember. And then there's something that he said that has imeresonate sana na mimi. Yeah. Alisema kwamba mara nyingi sana tunapozungumzia afya ya akili kwa wanaume, a lot of time tunaanza kumsaidia mtoto wa kiume baada ya tatizo lilikuwa limetokea. We rarely kumsaidia mtu, ni mara chache sana tunahangaika kumsaidia mtu kabla hajafika ile phase ambayo ni mbaya sana. So also I was like, if there's something ambayo tunaweza tukafanya zaidi na kuweza kusaidiana itakuwa poa sana. Na I gave him mfano mambo ya kudeal na addictions na matumizi ya madawa ya pombe, madawa ya kulevya au pombe, substance abuse na vitu kama hivyo. So when Sunday was speaking, I was like, it would be really really good if we can actually have him on the podcast na kujaribu unpack that side of the story as well. So thank you ulikubali kuja.
Asante, thank you for having me.
Yeah, our podcast is about mental health for men.
Yeah.
So we are very biased here. but yeah, it is what it is. So for now, I have 2 questions. Moja, who is Sunday Kapesi?
Okay.
2, what is Mwangaza wa Sunday?
Who is Sunday Kapesi? Sunday Kapesi, first and foremost, is a father of 3 beautiful kids.
Girls, boys? Or?
My son is about to turn 5. He's only known by the name Aquaman. That's just how it is. His older sister is 5 and a half, and I've got an elder one who's about to turn 13. Yeah, so 2 girls, 1 boy.
Amazing. I have 2 girls, so
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, I'm a father.
oh, wow.
Secondly, I'm a son. My lovely mother has really, really put herself out there to help me through my struggles. So I have to nimpe pongezo. Lazima nianze na mama, na familia, wadogo zangu, mama watoto, marafiki, ndugu, jamaa, and strangers I met along the way. Matatizo yangu bado tuko kwenye hui Sunday. So Sunday is a lawyer by training. I've done business development. I've dabbled into startups as well. So I'm someone who gets bored very quickly, and I try to do different things. And what is Mwangaza wa Sunday? Mwangaza wa Sunday is a web-based platform. It's a website, www.mwangazawasunday.co.tz, and that is my vehicle to tell my story about my battles with addiction and mental health, and try to create resources and support for other people who are struggling, not just addicts, but caregivers, watu nasahau, people with disabilities. You know, you see someone who's hard on hearing or visually impaired, you never think about labda huyo mtu ana addiction or huyo mtu ana mental health issues. So that's the mission of Mwangaza wa Sunday, and what I'm trying to do is onboard as many professionals. I'm hoping I can convince Nadia to join.
I'll help you pitch.
Yeah. Men need to support it.
I got you, my guy.
Especially Waswahili.
Waswahili is not say yeah.
So, but jokes aside, I try to bring as many professionals as possible. But also, I've realized there's an information gap. So I went to rehab over 2 years ago. I'm going to start my 3rd year of sobriety July 27th. So it's just around the corner. So this month is a big month for me. But my point is, when I came out of rehab, aftercare, take care of yourself, it's all theoretical. So when I used to go online to try and find different things, nilikuwa siwezi kupata jibu. And there was no one kumsikiliza nani anaongelea haya mambo other than professionals. So I thought, labda someone with lived experience can speak about his experience, and labda kuna watu ambao watajifundisha mawili matatu. But also it helps me be more accountable. The more people know my story, the more I can't narcissistically trick, lie, and do those things. So it actually helps me. And also I realized to get over the shame and the guilt and the embarrassment and the pain that I've gone through, that I've caused to other people, the only way to do that is to talk about it. So of course we live in a culture where mambo yanakaa nyumbani, which is, you have to be sensitive towards, but at the same time, it's my story. And I figured, let me get ahead of it. And I started 2 years ago, ongea kwenye jumia, ongea shuleni huku, nikialikwa pale, just small little groups. And then I made a decision earlier this year, and I said, you know what, this website, I've been working on it for about 6 months. Start before you're ready. Someone challenged me and said, Bana, it will never be perfect.
True.
Stop dilly-dallying. Answer to and fix it as you go ahead. So, like I told you earlier, my first live, so I do Instagram live using my own personal Instagram. Mara ya kwanza, my iPhone was horizontal. Siwezi kusahau. And one of the feedback I got was, hey, kaka, unajua haya mambo itakuwa yani simu hivi. Sisi tuko tunakuangalia hivi. And I said, lakini ulinisikia? Message ilipita. Message ilipita, lakini tunaomba shingo sasa. Ndio najifundisha. So Mwangaza wa Sunday is about creating a safe space, encourage everybody who's affected by addiction and mental health to speak up. Let's have empathetic conversations, and the vision is to create an empowered society, because I can know a lot of things about my mental health, lakini mama yangu je, bosi wangu, yule jamaa ambaye napanda daladala naye ambaye ananifahamu, I think it touches everybody. So that's Mwangaza wa Sunday. It's a web-based platform that's trying to bring as many people into the conversation, and I appreciate this platform, being invited to Men.
Yeah, it's amazing you say that, because I think even it's like kuna similarities with your story and your thinking with how the podcast came up about, in the sense that she's a therapist, I'm a journalist, so we were talking like, what can we do? It's like, Michael, all you know is kutengeneza vipindi, so you might as well use what you know and get Nadia na akili yake put together, and then and that, I like what you said, get it done and then perfect it as you go. Ukiangalia, we've had some podcasts about episodes about kids and such, you're like, hey, my guy.
You live and you learn.
Yeah, but then I think consistency has been one of the things about me. So, like I said, thank you for coming here. And thank you for agreeing to open up a little bit.
May I just add one other thing on Holy Sunday?
Please.
So, I like to introduce myself as a proud recovering addict. I wasn't always proud about my recovery because of the stigma that's attached to it, the shame that's brought to you. There are others who are embarrassed for you, with you. So as I've been speaking the last 3.5 months, I've realized there's a transformation. So I say, you know what? You are never cured from addiction.
Yeah, it's lifelong.
It's lifelong. So it's every day I wake up trying to do better. So I'm a recovering addict. But when I put it that way, it also sounds a bit negative. So I said, no, I'm a proud recovering addict. And my addictions were 3. It was alcohol use disorder, which is the right terminology, substance use disorder, and emotionally eating. Yeah, so I have to add that because 2.5 years ago, I was 124 kilograms. I was knocking on the door of hypertension. And that was because of 124. 6'4". So it was all, like I couldn't sleep. Na nilikuwa sijui kwa nini siwezi kulala. Yani saa 7, saa 8 za usiku nimekereka, I'm angry, I can't switch off my brain. Agiza kitimoto. Na mimi naishi Boko. So ni mabodaboda. Yani nusu saa jamaa shafika na uwezi kula kitimoto bila konyagi. Hapo una dawa za kulevya because yani akili is firing on all cylinders. So all that to say, those are my 3 addictions that they were not always addictions. Kuna stages, kama 5. But kuamua kwenda rehab ambayo nadhani tutaiongelea pia, hapo ndio nilianza kuanza kutatua tatizo lianza wapi and try to figure it all out. Na mimi ilikuwa very clear, addiction is related to mental health, and my mental health ilikuwa inashuka. So the addiction was there.
So if we take it back to the beginning, right? How did it happen for you? Like,
what happened?
Let's say our focus really is mental health, right? And tunazungumza mental health for men, and story yako is mostly with dealing with addictions, right? So, and I figure like a lot of time we might see triggers or we might not see triggers, right? If you know, you know kwamba these are triggers, but if you don't know, you wouldn't know. You think kwamba haya ndio maisha yangu yalivyo. Na a lot of time huaga kuna vitu ambavyo vinakupelekea mpaka kufikia hiyo tu. That's what I'm saying. If we go back for you,
unpack it
and let's unpack it.
Okay. Yeah. So two versions. Kuna the knowledge I gained from the first day I entered rehab. That helped me look back. Lakini kuna pre-rehab. So labda nianze na pre-rehab.
Yes, please.
Without what I learned after. So 2020 mzee wangu alifariki. And until
you guys were close?
No, I mean I was the firstborn. He was the old school disciplinarian. He loved hard. He loved his family. He worked very hard for his family. I granted that. But we had our frictions, like any other firstborn and the father. But my point is, up until that point, nilikuwa sijawahi kumpoteza mtu yoyote maisha yangu ambaye ni karibu na mimi. Nilikuwa kwenye misiba ya wengine. So that happened. And that same year, I also lost a very close uncle. So those two really impacted me. Lakini nilikuwa sifahamu that I was grieving. I went into firstborn mode. Saidia kila mtu hapo, I have a young family as well, and I was unemployed at the time. So when I look back, I go, okay, mzee kufariki na uncle kufariki na hapo sina kazi, and I was living off my savings and had a young family. Hapo ndio nafikiri my alcohol use and my drug abuse went from regular usage to full dependency and addiction.
Were you on drugs before that?
I was recreationally using drugs. And everybody thinks yani kutumia bangi au unga or whatever, automatically you're addicted. That's not the case. Yani na wale nilikuwa tumii na watu. Ilikuwa sababu kitu nafanya mwenyewe, mwisho wa siku niko nyumbani nimetulia au na kesha ofisini. It was actually recreational. Hiyo ilikuwa kwenye substance. Alcohol was even more recreational. Nafikiri hata leo ukimuuliza mtu yote mwae kumuona Sunday amelewa, wachache watasema nimelewa. But 2020 it spiked. So mimi story yangu nafikiri inaanza na majonzi, grief, and I was unaware of it. Na pia my relationship at the time ilikuwa inaanza kuyumba. So nyumbani kulikuwa hamna amani. So what do I do as a man, like any other man? Bana nachelewa kurudi nyumbani, kesha Coco Beach or whatever, tafuta party hapa na pale, fika nyumbani, lala kidogo, amka, ndio tafute maisha. So for me, I think grief was step one. However, sasa nihame sasa kwenye rehab, what I learned in those 104 days, I did not know I suffer from anxiety. Nilikuwa sijui. I did the Beck's test, anxiety test, depression, suicide, ADHD. I did all of those. Na nilipata division 1.3 kwenye ADHD, attention deficit hyper disorder, and that one was
wow.
And unasoma results mwenyewe, unasema tick, ndio mimi, ndio hii AI inanifahamu hata kuliko mimi. The ADHD stood out. The anxiety stood out. The depression stood out. The grief stood out. And I didn't even know I had insomnia. Nilikuwa naweza kwenda siku 4 bila kulala, which now feels crazy. Lakini nilikuwa naweza kwenda siku 4 bila kulala. Lakini hapo utaamka asubuhi, paka watoto labda sijui wapi. I was a dead man walking now that I think about it. So in rehab now, unpacking, talk to a psychologist every day, psychiatrist every day. The first thing they had to do was regulate my sleep. So for the first time I went on very heavy sleep medication. At the same time, grief counseling in the end. And middle class family, no idea there's something called grief counseling. Na nitakumbuka swali la kwanza niulizwa na psychologist. Alikuwa amekaa wewe na ananiangalia tu, anasema hivi, Sunday, mzee wako angekuwa hai leo na angejua uko rehab, how would he have reacted to that? And I can remember feeling bigger than I felt like I was becoming the Hulk. Swali gani hiyo? And if I can be honest, I almost wanted to, I felt like I wanted to slap her, like you've disrespected my father or whatever. Na anaendea kuniangalia tu and just said, whenever you're ready. Yani hatuhami hadi ujibu hiyo swali.
You need to answer that question.
And take your time. And I could feel it. That's the first time I started becoming conscious of my anxiety. Like I was doing this, I was sweating, I was fidgeting. And first time I realized, what is going on? And then I started talking. Na hiyo kuongea, nimesema kwenye lots of my platforms, I started shaking. Na nilianza kulia. Na kumbe nilikuwa sijalia hizo miaka miwili tangu mzee alifariki. Yani mara ya mwisho nilia ilikuwa siku tulimuingiza kwenye jeneza and the whole process was done. Nirudi nyumbani, nilimlilia fiance wangu. I never cried again. But that day, nililia. Na nililia wakati nilikuwa naongea. Now what was coming out of my mouth, I remember. Mzee wangu angekuwepo sasa hivi angekuwa ananipigia asubuhi, angeniuliza bwana, umeingia darasani, umemsikiliza daktari, wadogo wako wamekupigia, nani hajakupigia, subiri. So he was very interested in people's well-being. So I started speaking and then I just went off tangent. Sasa mtoto wangu wa mwisho hata mkumbuka babu, hawa wengine wawili watamkumbuka hivi. Kwa nini sasa? Kwa nini hivi? Yani babu kaondoka tu, hajatuambia nini wala yani hakuongea hata neno moja huyo psychologist. I think I talked for about 2 hours. Baada ya kumaliza nakumbuka I was like this. Yani nilikuwa sijitambui. Alafu aliniuliza, how do you feel? Na nilisimama, niliangalia chini na nimwambia najisikia kama nimesimama in the desert. Yani naona mchanga tu. Yani sijui napoenda ni wapi, lakini naamini miguu yako tayari atanipeleka napotakiwa kwenda. Answer. Kafunga kitabu. Hizi siku 2 kutoka leo uruhusiwi kusoma chochote kuhusu ADHD. There was something about that diagnosis that clicked in my head and I just started reading. Sema uruhusiwi kusoma, uruhusiwi kufanya mazoezi. I'd also read dopamine. Fanya mazoezi, your mood is much better. I'd never connected the two. So nilikuwa nishaanza kufanya mazoezi. No exercise, no reading. Wewe tu ni kusocialize sasa na wenzako. And she said, we'll talk again in 2 days. Uweze kuamini Nadia, nililala kama siku 2 yani I slept. Nilikuwa sijawahi kulala hivyo my whole life. And when I woke up 2 days later, I was lighter. Yani nilisikia yani mwepesi. And I think when you look at the stages of grief, I think I'd moved from bargaining and denial all the way to acceptance. Because then the next thing she told me that I remember, sikumbuki kingine chochote kingine. Aliniambia, wewe si Mkristo? Nasema ndio. Unaamini kuongelesha, those who have departed, like talk to your father. Do you believe in that sort of thing? I said, yeah, I do. Sasa naomba utafute sehemu hapa kwenye rehab facility. Now, the next place you're going to, I was in a detox facility for the first 14 days and then full rehab for 90 days. Find a place. And if you can feel your father's presence, start talking to him. Tell him how you're doing, tell him what your issues are in your own time. And I started doing that.
When you're just speaking right now, it really got me thinking. It's like, because you've lived it and you experienced it, mtu ambaye anaweza akatuangalia au atatusikiliza may feel like this cannot be real. Especially if you haven't been through it, right? And this is where I want to bring Nadia in, as this is a profession and this is what you do for a living. Niambie umuhimu wa the process that Sunday went through. Like, is it ukiwa kwenye certain situation, especially if you've lost somebody? Because even when you're talking, got me thinking, like when I lost my dad. I remember 2 times that I really cried. One, the first day nimefika and I saw my mom, kwa sababu mzee alikuwa anakaa Morogoro, mimi niko Dago, got a call, your dad is gone. So nimefika pale, nifika tu nyumbani nimeona mama, that's when I cried.
Yeah.
But up like you said, well, I'm not the first one, thank God.
Una privileges.
I do, I'm not gonna lie, I do. Like I said the other time, kuna mizigo mingine ambayo tunaitupia kwa bro na sister kwamba pambaneni, si tupot for support. But then my brother came through, and then tukaanza kupambana na mambo na nini, and the second time I cried is the day ambayo tulikuwa tunazika. And after that I kept it moving. But not a single day has passed where I haven't thought about my old man. Like hakuna, it's been 10, 11, 13 years now. Hakuna siku ambayo mwe kupita that the thought of him haijawahi cross my mind. And it's always my, would he be proud if I let him down?
Yeah.
How would he react to this? Oh, I fucked up. You know, those kind of things. Like I always get those thoughts, and so most of the time I'm like, is it normal? At what point do I let go? I mean, should I let go? Is this how it's gonna be for the rest of my life? I don't feel like it's a bargain, but every now and then it's the thought that inakuja kichwani kwangu.
Cha kwanza kufikiria grief, right? Ni kitu ambacho nayo pia ni lifelong. Like there's never a point where it stops being painful. That you've lost someone important to you, someone that you love. Amna siku ambayo you get over it. It's different to the grief of losing a possession, because that's also grief. You have to adjust to that change of having this and not having it. Like when it comes to losing a loved one, that is lifelong. It's just that the intensity of that pain and the impairment caused by that pain ndo inapungua. So you find that utakumbuka na utasikia bado ule uchungu. Lakini ni tofauti. Once you've accepted and adjusted to the fact that I've lost this, this loved one, I've lost a parent, I've lost a child, and they're no longer physically here with me. But then you have those memories to hold on to, your experiences with them, right? And the life they've lived. So at every point, ulo uchungu bado upo. I don't think there'll ever be a time you completely forget or get over it, but it just gets easier in the sense
more like you get used to it.
Yes, you adapt, right? So it's the whole point of resilience. In kwamba we are able to kind of get up and continue moving forward, carrying the memory, rather than sitting in the loss or denying that loss. Because when we deny, we're stagnant, we're not moving. Because you need to adapt. If you are to continue, then you need to get towards acceptance and start walking with the new reality, the new life.
So imagine for 2 years niko sijalia, because sijaenda kaburi. It never crossed my mind. When I thought about it, I dilly-dallied, and I want to link it to my addiction, because that's what I know. So prior to going to rehab, I did realize, I think my substance use and my alcohol and my eating.
So you're talking with substance, you're talking, there's cocaine, there's weed.
So my drug of choice was cocaine.
Okay.
Weed, once in a blue moon. Never tried heroin, never tried anything else. Coke was my drug of choice. And what I did not know then was I was trying to numb the pain. And that's grief that I did not know I was having. And that's the anxiety. And that's the depression. Now I can look back and I realize, I was depressed. So I would go a couple of days not doing anything, not motivated. I'm still haunted by sounds of my son knocking on my door, saying, Baba, njoo tucheze. And I was high, drunk. I've not slept for 2-3 days, ashamed of myself. So I just go quiet. Funga mlango. And then I would hear his sister saying, Wacha baba alale, akiamka atacheza na wewe. It just pierced my heart even more. So I live with those thoughts every day, trying to manage them. My point is this. Everybody looks at, ukiona dramatization ya addict, utamwona mtu ambaye amelewa, hajitambui. Mtu ambaye anatumia drugs, hajitambui. But the truth is, the bigger group of addicts I think we should be worried about are functional addicts. And that's the message I try to push every day, because I was a functional addict. I had a job, I paid rent, I helped my parents, I had a fiance, I did things, nilipa kodi. So you convince yourself, sio shida.
Okay, yeah.
Sio shida. And you started this talk by saying, wanaume tend to get help or be helped after they're on fire. Or their life is on fire. So I try to go around telling people, if hiyo chupa ya dasani ni konyagi na tonic na umekuja nayo saa 3 asubuhi kazini, alafu na mouthwash, kuna tatizo. Tuwe wazi. Na wenzako wanaiona na wanafahamu, lakini watu labda hawajui cha kusema. Au sio tatizo yangu, huyo sio staff wangu. You give yourself 100 reasons not. Mimi nashukuru kwa sababu nina marafiki ambayo walikuja pamoja na mdogo wangu na my ex-fiance, and they did an intervention. At some point nilienda kwa mdogo wangu, nilikuta marafiki wako pale, kaa hapo, kuna tatizo. Mimi nakupenda dada yako, mimi ni kaka yako nakupenda, mimi ni fiance wako nakupenda, there's a problem. You still using? I said, yeah, I'm still using. Do you think it's a problem? I'm like, what am I doing here? And you get into defensive. I remember, and now you realize
you feel disrespected.
Yeah, I was taken by surprise. That's a hit or miss. Kuna watu wananyanyuka na wanaondoka na waoni tena.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, I love my sister, I love my fiance, I love my best friend. I will sit through this. I can manage. Let's see. So Jadiliana, and we came down and they said, now we have to involve mom. Sitaki mwambie mama bado ana majonzi. The choice is not yours. Kama you'll not talk to me again, that's fine. Moyo wangu is clean, but mom needs to know. It's like, tell mom if you want to. So one thing led to another. My mom was told, and then we had a family meeting, and then another suggestion about rehab. But the good thing, I think they told me, so think about it. But there was pressure. I just started my own business. My business partner was in Zambia, and I was already contemplating rehab. So I said, lazima niende Zambia, nikae na business partner wangu, we see how this business can function if I go to rehab. I think the family thought I was running away, and I don't blame them. But in my mind, I was like, I need to at least put that together. So trust me. And they trusted me, and I came back and I went to rehab. But I remember my good...
This was the first time going to rehab?
First and only time. I'd never been to rehab before.
Okay.
And this was the first time. So the family did research, waliangalia facilities in Tanzania, they talked to people in South Africa, in Kenya, and they decided I go to one of the best facilities, which is in Nairobi. I think I can say that. It's called Chiromo Hospitals. And it's a proper rehab facility in the sense that addicts get support. You need medication, you need psychological support, psychosocial support, you need psychiatric support, you need all of it. Na unaanza kwa kufanya mitihani. We need to know your state of mind. I had never done a psychometric test. I had never done a depression test, an anxiety test, suicide. They're standard tests, zipo. Hata mwangaza wa Sunday, we guide you to that. We are not clinical psychologists like Dr. here, like like Nadia. We are not certified. We do not pretend to be. What we have is lived experiences, and we share experiences, and then we point to the direction of people like Nadia. When I did those exams, that's an assessment. Majibu yalifika. Tulizipitia pamoja na psychologist, because you need their support to understand it. And I went, I cannot deny these results. I think I have ADHD. What is ADHD? That's where the curiosity began. So, part of who was Sunday, I had an undiagnosed mental health condition called attention deficit hyper disorder. Undiagnosed. I was diagnosed age 40 in rehab, which means all that period, it was there. And inakuja, inaondoka, whatever.
That comes, which circles back to when you say you get bored easily.
Exactly, get bored easily. And now that I understand ADHD, it's a mood regulatory disorder. So we're a normal human being, neurotypicals, right? I need to keep working on the wording. Neurotypicals, normal people, so to speak. If you don't feel like coming to do men, lakini mgeni amefika anaitwa Sunday, utakuja. Mimi kama sijisikii kufanya kitu, I'm a mountain. or used to be a mountain. And I didn't know why. All I knew was, I don't want to do it. Naweza kulazimisha. Opposition defiance disorder,
Yes.
right? So that it's what are bipolar, they have that as well.
Yeah.
People with ADHD, we have that as well. It's very difficult to do things you're not motivated to do. However, on the other hand, nikipenda Nadia au nikipenda conversation na wewe, I'm firing on all cylinders, which means I can do this podcast for the next 6 hours.
Wow.
And you'll see my ideas and I like myself in that mood. So it goes back to addiction as well. When I did my substance abuse, cocaine, I realized back then ilikuwa inanisaidia kulala na ilikuwa inanisaidia kupunguza mawazo, but I did not connect the two. All I knew was if I do that, the same way mtu ambaye akinywa soda anisikia kidogo anachangamka. Yeah, for me it helped quiet the thoughts. So it's a statistic. Normal human beings, 6,000 thoughts a day. People with ADHD, between 8,000 to 14,000. So, Michael, what are you going to do if you have 14,000 thoughts in a 24-hour period, over and above majukumu, responsibilities, undiagnosed grief, whatever? You're firing on so many. That's why we tend to be forgetful, impulsive, compulsive, and we can't quite regulate our emotions. So you talk to my family, watakwambia Sunday akiamua kumsaidia mtu atauza vitu vyake. True story. So I go on that extreme, and my default was kuwasaidia watu, which I did not know was a way of avoiding my own issues. Very good at diagnosing other people. So my emotional intelligence was very big, but I'm a man, so I also don't share. But I used to talk a lot. So watu wananiambia bwana, mbona husemi chochote kuhusu wewe? Basi lakini nimekuchangamsha.
You know what you say in my resume. So I'm a talker. Like kila mtu anajua mimi najua ni Michael. Yo,
Tuna leo.
Kila mtu anajua mimi anajua ni Michael, ni mzungumzaji sana. Now I wouldn't now that I don't know how many analyze on him, but as you're talking, it made me think kwamba a lot of the time, even when I'm going through, and even when I'm going through some things, very few people would actually notice. And again, people come like, Michael, I want to talk about 1, 2, 3. I'm there. Michael, can you come there and touch everything to come and listen to you? But one of the hardest thing, at least kwangu mpaka leo, is for me to share what I'm literally going through. And I'm learning. I'm learning. You know, I'm talking about 5 years of doing this podcast and doing therapy sessions, kuonekana and meeting different people and advocating for men like, guys, you really gotta be able to speak. But I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. It's and I think for me, at least what I find to be the most difficult part is a lot of the time people expect you to be okay.
Yes.
People like, you show up in a place, people like, oh, Michael's here, this is gonna be good, people gonna have fun. Now unajikuta sometimes you need to live up to that expectation. Like if I'm here, everybody gotta be good, everybody gotta have a good time, but sometimes it's heavy.
Exactly.
It's heavy. And I think this is the first time ever I'm saying this. Like in a lot of time, not a lot of time, but sometimes it gets heavy.
So so let me challenge you. So I told you in the beginning, I'm the firstborn. My dad was quite tough, and I'm okay with that. Where does that anxiety go after he passed away? I asked myself that question in rehab. I was asked, okay, so where anxiety yako trigger ilikuwa mzee, where do you take all that? And I realized, that's why I was using drugs. One reason why. That's why I was drinking. That's why I was partying a bit too much, because that person that I have issues with, that I have not quite resolved, is no longer there. So where do I take it? You turn to negative coping habits. Moja ni pombe, mwingine ni betting. In fact, at Mwangaza wa Sunday, I try so hard kuambia watu nikitamka neno addiction, bora nianze na zile ambaye sina mimi. Because 80% of addicts is alcohol use disorder. The other 20% is everything else. Lakini kuna sex addiction, kuna masturbation, kuna kudanganya, kuna kuiba, kuna chaos, kuna gambling, kuna betting. anything that overpowers you is an addiction. Kuna coffee, kuna nicotine, kuna bangi, kuna shisha.
But I think somehow now this is the part about culture comes into play. I think we've and I'm talking about culture yetu kama Tanzania. I think kuna namna ambayo tumeweza kunormalize baadhi ya vitu na tumevishika court na imefanya vionekane poa ingawaje ni tatizo vitu kama uongo. You know, Tanzania is more uongo bwana. But I'm like, when it gets too much, it's an issue. You know, pombe and I'm like, kunywa tu pombe, yani unakuwa hivyo na unywe pombe, kunywa pombe kupunguza mawazo. And matter of fact, tunasifiana kwa uwezo wa kunywa pombe. Like the more you can take it, the more unakuwa na wejembe. But in reality, you gotta have you gotta draw some lines. I think the cultural context and settings, it doesn't help sisi kama community kudina na tatizo la addiction pia.
And so very good point. So what's the challenge I faced? Ndani ya rehab, there's a very nice quote by Mike Tyson. Nawafuatilia sana watu ambao ni waraibu, recovering addicts. Like my algorithm just pick these things up now. Mike Tyson said on a different podcast, he spent time in jail. Now he told these guys, the one time I found peace was in prison.
Yes, I know that quote.
And the guy said, what are you talking about?
I know
Mike Tyson,
that quote.
$32 million. He said, you know what? God gives you all those things, man, because he's laughing at you. I found peace in prison. So, Michael, Nadia, I found peace in rehab. I found my tribe. I didn't expect it. Everybody there had so many different issues. Wengine addiction, wengine ni mental health. There were one or two, walikwambia live, bana, mimi nahitaji amani tu. Nimekuja kufuata amani. Nimeacha simu, nimewaaga, na mimi niacha tu nipumzike kidogo, which was very new to me. So you can go to a rehab facility to get away from everything and just try to reconstruct your life. So kama mwanaume, as a father, unemployed at the time, trying to start a new business, blah, blah, all these different titles. Like you said, it's heavy. Now, ukimwambia colleague wako or your supervisor, I need 1 month, I'd like to go to rehab just to reorganize. Umechizi? Or like, I think even the response can be a reason for you to sink even deeper. So we are trying, right, to encourage people to say, listen, it's not wrong to say you're stressed. It's not wrong to say I'm grieving.
Struggling.
Nitakupa mfano. I worked for a certain company last year. Na my father passed in August. So that week, nilimtumia CEO WhatsApp message. I said, I need to try to have people help me. Siwezi kufanya mwenyewe. CEO, madam, habari za asubuhi. Wana wiki hii ndio, wiki mzee alifariki, mwaka mmoja umekamili iliyopita. Nadhani wiki hii I'll be a bit slow. Lakini nitafika kazini, nitadelegate. Lakini niliona labda nikutaarifu wiki kidogo itanisumbua, lakini nitafika kazini. Nilikuwa sijui jibu itakuwaje. Lakini jibu ambaye alinipa by WhatsApp makes me emotional, kwa sababu jibu nilipata ni asante kwa kuniambia. Nafikiri alisema kitu kama sijawahi kuwa na mtu ambaye mkweli hivyo. Naomba tusali pamoja, baba alale peponi. Like she was very sympathetic, and she was very motherly, and she was very like, that's what you'd want.
Understand.
I said, bana, if you need a day off, wait, ongea tu na supervisor wako.
We can make it work.
We can make it work. That had the opposite effect. Nilichapa kazi hiyo wiki. Like I remember, because that same day when I entered the office, the COO now is a guy. He came all the way downstairs to my office. And, I don't have to mention names. And he asked me about my father. Tell me about your father. What did he do? Da, da, da. And I thought, wow. And there I was. My father was a marketing guru. He worked in this company and he did this and da, da, da. We had a conversation, maybe 10 minutes. And he says, okay, so are you going to take the day off or, And I said, no, I think
I got this.
I got it. And I worked that week. So in my different platforms, I tell people, you'll never know unless you ask. Lakini sasa unayo kitu kusema nikimwambia boss wangu nitapoteza kazi yao. It's a genuine fear.
And this is the part ambayo I would love for Nadia to speak on it. I think moja, you said fear. Two, kama mwanaume wa Kitanzania, there's this thing of saying acha mambo ya kimama, acha utoto. You're not the first one to lose it. We've all lost somebody here. So you know, you gotta see it through. What we really tend to understand ni kwamba we process things differently.
Very different.
Kabisa. Hiyo moja. Pili, kitu kingine that I've observed ni kwamba now tunaanza kuwa na generations tofauti. Kuna watu ambao they're exposed, they've worked on themselves, they know their emotions. Now we're trying to encourage watu kuwa a little bit more open. So I think the best we can do ni kujaribu kuzungumza zaidi. Lakini Nadia, talk to me a little bit about how culture comes into play here.
Well, culture forms our ecosystem, right? So we exist in a culture, and vitu ambavyo tunavifanya oftentimes as humans tunataka kubelong. We want to fit in.
Yes.
I want to know that these are my people. I want to know that I can fit into this group, that I am considered normal in this context. So whatever society or the culture we exist in says this is what is normal, we strive to project that is who we are. Issue na hiyo ni kwamba as humans, kwanza you're normal, you can't have a full spectrum of it. People just pick and choose the most, the top, the list. So kuna vingi ambavyo hatuviongelei kusema kwamba pia hii ni normal. Lakini wote tunajua ni vipo. Right? So there's a full spectrum, a full range of human experience ambayo in our cultures, in our societies hatuviongelei. Na kwa sababu hatuviongelei, what we feel as an individual standing outside, so this is the culture, ndo kitabu hichi hapa. This is what I'm experiencing. I don't feel safe kwenda kushare. Kwa sababu hakijatajwa pale. Nitaonekana mimi si fit in. Nitakuwa ostracized. Right? I'll be rejected. And then where do I go? Rejection. Right? From ukiangalia basic human need is attachment needs. We want to belong. Kwa sababu that's how we get our needs met. As a child, you need to fit in with your parents so that they can meet your needs. Mamako akulishe, akuvishe, akusafishe.
So you conform.
Right? Exactly. Right? You get into the workspace, I want to be accepted. This is where my needs are met because my income comes from here, and this is how I meet my healthcare needs, my shelter, my food, my clothing, and etc. So again, we conform to what is the norm. In the bigger context, the country we exist in, I know I need to fit into what is collectively as a community tunasema is acceptable. It silences us. Because we don't speak about, we often speak about the things that are shiny and we want put on a, on a podium. Lakini hatuongelei the opposite end of the spectrum of human experience, ambayo is all the things that are not pleasant,
not glamorous,
not shiny, not glamorous at all, not exciting. We also don't want to experience them. And so that's why tuna conform, kwa sababu sisi wenyewe pia hatuvitaki vile. Lakini the irony of being human and the irony of our brain is sasa vile ambavyo hatuvitaki vile, and we are actively working against, ndo vile sasa it's like you manifesting it, it comes more and more, ndo vinakuja. I think our lives, everything that happens to us every day is constant character development. I know people say this as a joke during relationships, that was character development. Lakini me, I say embrace those relationships because you get to learn about yourself and you get to work on yourself.
Every stage.
So it works against us, and culture, the norm, what we normalize, continues to stay the status quo. Kwa sababu hata sisi personally, we also don't want to have the experiences that are not pleasant. As humans, we're drawn towards pleasure and averted from pain. So we seek pleasure, we want to avoid pain. Lakini sadly, human experience is about suffering.
So my relationship with pain has changed. It's changed dramatically. So now I feel when I am in pain, there's something for me to learn.
Yes.
I'll give you very practical examples. Today is Saturday. I think Thursday I sent a message to the nanny saying the kids will be home by 5:30 kwa mama yao. Nitapita baada ya kazi ili niweze kuwaona, nicheze nao, niwalishe, something that happens from time to time. Nitamtaarifu mama watoto. Taarifu mama mtoto, same message. I know she's busy, having a very busy week. So that was saa sita. I went about my business. Hiyo saa 11:30, saa 12 nimefika getini. Fika getini, hodi. I get a message from the nanny saying, mama watoto ametwitter where she is, ili watoto waweze kuona marafiki zake or something. So messages were lost in translation. Communication breakdown. Now what do I do with that? I haven't seen my kids in 2 weeks. I've been busy doing all these different things. I really wanted to see them. Nina safari nakuja weekend. So now I'm in that, I'm tense. I'm pissed. I'm angry. And nowadays, I verbalize it. I say it to myself. I recognize I don't pretend.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go bias. I used to take 5 photos a day just to show you how much I needed that mood to change. What do? From their gate, hadi Tenkibovu ni kilomita 1. I told you earlier, mimi natembea 2 to 5 kilometers every day, unless I'm sick or it's raining. Tembea hadi Tenkibovu, and I am
fuming.
Yani, I want to see my kids. Watoto mbona hajapokea simu? Yeah, I'm tense. Fika pale, panda bolti, all the way till Boko where I live. I haven't told you, I run half a marathon every second week. I have run from Mbezi all the way till Boko nyumbani kwangu, 32 kilometers, because I was angry. So I said, nowadays, I need movement. Kufika pale Chama is 3 kilometers to my gate. When I enjoy boda driver what, I walk. I walked it, and as I was walking, and this is now sunset, 6:37, I start to notice nature around me, and I can feel my tension is reducing. By the time nimeingia getini, nimetembea kilomita 4. I'm tired, I take a shower, nakula. By 9 o'clock,
Tired.
This story has different parts. 5:30 a.m. nimeamka. Nimepata message from a friend I had recently met, who I met that day, hiyo Jumatano. Na huyu dada akaniambia, amesema, were you able to see your, sababu nimeona huyu dada afu nimeona kwa watoto wangu. Were you able to see your kids? Na uweza fika nyumbani salama. I just wanted to check in on you. Kuanza Alhamisi yangu with that message set the tone for my day. Kuna mtu sehemu ananijali. Na sidhani kama anafahamu how much I needed that message. Because I didn't. So I said, no, sikufanikiwa kuwaona, walikuwa na mama yao, na nashukuru umenijali, na unataka kujua kama nimefika salama. Wewe je, ulifika salama? My whole Thursday was different because of that message. So I try to spread that message now to people, to say, yule rafiki yako, yule mwanafamilia ambaye hujiongea naye muda, surprise this person and just call and just say, bana, unaendeleaje? That can be the difference between someone about to commit suicide. I've lost 2 friends to suicide this year. I've lost 2 people to drug overdoses. One of them a month after I left rehab. My roommate, that was a very bitter lesson, that kuwasaidia waraibu and people with addiction and mental health, you will lose more people than you will save. But it was also a wake-up call.
And this is what I always say, kwamba we need to learn to be kind to each other, kwa sababu you just never know. This is why I also have issues with internet bullies and people you don't know. You feel like you can say, no. That has been my any kilio chongi kubwa, guys. Let's just try to be kind to each other. You never know what a person is going through. You never know if they had a shitty day or not. Message yako either is I can make somebody's day or break. Kwa yani, we should just learn to be kind. I want to pivot a little bit na kutoka na kuongea kuhusiana na the mindset that we have about rehab, and again, maybe it's culture, maybe it's kwa sababu, and Nadia, maybe you can speak more on it, but kutoka mitaani, a lot of people tunadhania kwamba if you go to I think you know where I'm heading with
very well.
Kutoka mitaani, a lot of people tunajua kwamba
talk about it.
Kutoka mitaani, I think watu wengi tunajua kwamba ukienda rehab ni lost cause, ukienda rehab ni mateso. And again, kina context ya Tanzania hatuna good rehabs, na ukienda rehab wewe ni mtu ambaye yani jamii imesha kushindwa kabisa, na ukitoka rehab tukae tu yani basi, lakini vile vile tujiandae kukurudisha kwamba ukishaenda rehab wewe ni kwamba utaenda tu kila siku. Is that hiyo ni perception ya kweli Nadia before Sunday comes in ambaye ameishi huko?
So those are the perceptions ambazo ziko kwenye community.
Yeah.
Right? Na kama ulivyosema, in our context hapa Tanzania, to be very honest, I do not feel I can call any establishment that is being called a rehab in Tanzania a rehabilitation center. There is no rehabilitation taking place. Rehabilitation is how do we facilitate you reintegrating back into society, into your society, into your niche, right? Lakini hapa kwetu it's more, ndio maana hizo perceptions zipo kwenye community yetu, kwa sababu what is formed here ni kwamba tunakufungia mule, you deal with your demons. Right? Good luck. Like throw you in the deep there. Boom.
Tutakuombea.
From outside, removed from your experience. Wakati, as I said earlier, we are social beings. We exist in the community. So uwezi ujua wewe Michael sababu ya kwa nini Nadia is an addict. Or you as Michael, you are the one maintaining Nadia's addiction. Or you are facilitating it.
Yep.
Right? So as a family niche, the bigger, expand a bit, the friends, the community around us, our church, our mosques, and etc. Wider community, the government, the systems in place, all of us. Addiction is not an Nadia problem. No. It is an us problem. Yep. We all play a role. Yani sijawahi kufanya kazi na mtu yoyote who is dealing and working through addiction ambaye sijaona mkono wa different people there. Now, I might be ready to work on my addiction and propel and change my life. Sindio? And change my actions, my behaviors. Lakini kuna mikono ya watu ambayo pia inanishikilia pale, kwa sababu tushasema wewe Nadia, wewe you are an addict, na kushikilia hapa wewe ni mlevi.
Hii bipolar ni nini? Haipo.
Kubali ulevi.
Yani it's like they are holding you back. Sasa imagine wewe umefungwa kamba, wewe unataka kukimbia lakini tumekushikilia hivi. This is who you are. This is who you are.
Daktari anasema mwachie. Aelekea huko. He or she will be fine. Unabisha na daktari. I was having this conversation with my mother yesterday because as part of my grief counseling, it hit me. So I'll say different things. Ya kwanza, I was there the night before my dad passed. I go hospitalini, nilienda kulala pale, keep him company, and I did something I'd never done before. I was able to tell my father I loved him. It was a very big deal for me. Yani maisha yangu yote, I watch movies, nasoma vitabu. I'm a hopeless romantic. I write poems. I don't care what other men say. But that night, I called a friend of mine in the US, and we really talked for about 3 hours. Na kuna kitu alisema, Sunday, you're going about it wrong. Wanda uambia baba yako I love you for him. You're saying it for you.
Wow.
As soon as she said that, it clicked in my head. Na mimi ni mtu, either you dare me to do something, I'll do it. Or if something makes sense, before I change my mind, I went upstairs, fungua curtain, looked at my father, said, Dad, let me tell you something for a long time. I love you. And at that moment, he looked at me, we looked at each other, it felt like forever. And then the next morning he passed. And I remember telling my mother, I think my grief will delay. So I was able to tell Dad, why am I telling you this? After grief therapy, 2 years later, it hit me. Siyakuambia mama wangu I love her. Na mama wangu yuko hai. But I told my father 2 years ago.
Yeah.
On his deathbed. Then I went, how ironic is that? Yani naweza kumwambia baba, lakini sijawahi kumwambia mama. And I told my psychologist, nikitoka hapa, nikirudi nyumbani, I'll try my best conversation ishiishe bila kumwambia mama I love you. Na mama ni mtu anayependa kusali. So I said, my mom loves praying, I'll be praying with my mom. Nimepanda basi kwenda Nairobi, I go get my medication there, I go see my counselors there. Nilikuwa na Manga border, called my mom, nimefika border, yeye ndio nipigia sikumbuki. Mom, naomba tusali on the other side, lakini dereva atakusikia. And I remember laughing and telling my mother, and so what?
Yeah.
I said, lakini kweli inamuhusu nini? I said, we prayed. Kufika Nairobi, that bus driver tells me, kaka, yani ulifanya kitu sijawahi kuona. And I knew what he was talking about. Mimi ni dereva wa hii basi kama miaka 15. Nimeenda Kampala, nimeenda sijawahi kumpigia mama wangu kumwambia nimefika, naomba tusali. Yani kuanzia leo. And I remember going, this is the effect.
Yes.
One, of not caring about what other people think. And two, that is serotonin, right? It is, you give out good things, and good things multiply. Why am I telling you this? Telling my father I loved him was a big deal to me. It delayed my grief. Now I tell my mother, which helps me celebrate her. So now I'm not afraid of death. It will happen when it happens. Hopefully she lives another 40 years. Sure. But often you will see, it doesn't matter where. Nitasali na yeye, Mom, I love you, son. Off I go to Boko or whatever. I think as men, we need to do that more. Watu watasema, hiyo tabia ya wazungu, sijui nini. You're making excuses. If it's that easy, then say it.
Exactly.
If it's difficult, that's the problem. My son, my daughter, this is how we greet each other. Shikamoo baba, marhaba. Ya pili, I love you, dad. I love you, son. Alafu, how are you, dad? And I would say, I'm not doing okay today. Sijalala vizuri. Mbona hujalala vizuri? Ulikuwa kwenye YouTube. They're entertaining if you pay attention. I'm finally paying attention. Yeah. So I get to open up a little bit. My father would never tell me he was not doing well. I'm changing that. So the generational trauma, the generational behavior, it's your responsibility to change it.
Yeah.
You've just got me thinking.
You're creating a new norm.
Exactly.
You really got me thinking. Like one of the last time I told my mom nakupenda, and we talk every now and then. We send each other text.
Surprise her.
Mom would always say like, it's your birthday, I said a prayer for you. Nimekuombea misa. We're Catholics. Because she'd be like, leo siku mtakatifu Mikaeli, malaika mkuu. Actually, naenda church mimi siendi. Ananiambia iko leo Mikaeli, malaika mkuu ni siku yake, nimekuombea misa, nimeenda kanisani, mimi tunapambana na deliverables za watu. But it's funny, like I tell my kids I love you, like on the regular.
Yeah.
You know, well, they're girls, so it's easier. I don't know if nikipata wa kiume ingekuwa. But I tell my girls like I love you. But I've never told my brother that. None of my brothers. Not my sister. My sister, yes, on birthday, like nakupenda. Like literally texting my brother, I love you. I think the moment where we did that, it was during COVID. My brother aliumwa, alikuwa Zambia, mpigwa ile ICU kabisa, he's also in the country minipo. So there was a lot of emotions. Kulia, is he gonna come back? I think that is the moment. And then again, it had to be a bad experience.
And back to your original point. Kuwa na moto is when you do these things.
Exactly.
Which needs to change. Because even you talk to a psychologist, I remember if you had talked to me 2 years ago when I first met you, and this was just a little problem, we would have done a lot more work. But anyway, umefika. Kuanza ulipofika. So, men, I did my research. It's about real talk. It's about call to action, about challenge, right? So let me be the guest that challenges you and says, man, when we finish this, call your mother. Mom, I have my turn to pray with you. And finish that with, Mom, I love you. Let Nadia know how that conversation went. Let me know if you wish. It will change your day.
I want to challenge all our listeners to actually also do that and let us know.
I mean, if you have a father, tell him you love him.
I think even more.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yani haijalishi.
And don't expect, do it for you. Do it for you.
Do it for yourself.
Baba umechanganyikiwa tupeleke rehab, cheka naye. But your message has been delivered. Done.
Yeah.
You know, I've also changed my relationship with fear. I realize I want to find out what's on the other side. And in recovery, we are told every day, my recovery comes first. So I'm undoing 42 years of putting other people first. I have ex-girlfriends who would always remind me and say, man, kero moja niko na wewe, you take care of everyone else. You forget yourself, you forget me. I have friends, I think, can testify to that. But everybody says he's a nice person. Now understand this, addicts get taken advantage of.
Yes.
People with mental health issues get taken advantage of. And you know why? Because you want your tribe. So, yule mlevi hanywi mwenyewe. So, mimi nikipata boom chuoni au nikipata bonus kazini, utapata marafiki. They're taking advantage of you. Watu wanaambia change your friends. It's not that automatic. Lakini I'm also here to tell you, And I do different WhatsApp groups to help people. Na kuna jamaa jana aliuliza swali nzuri tu. Asema na mimi familia yangu mimi niko huko wao huko pale. And I understood what he was saying. He was saying, is that okay? I told him, unajua nini? Kila mtu atalaumu marafiki.
It's true.
It's so convenient to say your friends got you into drugs. Your friends da 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 da. Your friends da da. Do you know what people are not telling you? Family. Toxic work environment. You say that, it's like, yani utaweza kusemaje hivyo? Eti baba yako, eti baba mdogo. Yeah, baba mdogo is a big trigger. If you go through psychotherapy, utajua yule ndio trigger wangu. Hiyo story inaanza sehemu fulani. Labda, can you imagine, you have friends who've grown up in abusive homes, where baba anampiga mama. I have those friends as well. You can see. Now if you open your eyes, you go, I can see where your problems began. You know, it began at home. So I advocate and I tell people, it takes courage, but if your boss is not a good person for your mental health, and it's the reason why you're drinking and you're betting, maybe you need to reevaluate whether you should be working for that person. Sometimes nahitaji kuishi. True. But you know what? You're smart. You're resilient. Una watu, una marafiki. Is this job worth it? Is it? And then family. Lakini wananihitaji. Do they really need you? For 104 days, I was in Nairobi and Limuru. You know what I realized? My family can live without me.
They didn't starve.
They didn't starve, and it was a problem. The first 2-3 weeks, mbona wanipigi simu, hawanijali nini, and then you kind of break through that and realize they want me to get better. And this is part of the process. And as soon as nikubali hiyo kitu, I was like, okay, focus on you, Sunday, force you. But what they don't tell you when you leave, if your girlfriend is a stressor, if your sister is a stressor, and let me put it differently, sio huyo mtu, it's the relationship you have with them. Because there's you and there's them. I have my role in the end of my relationship that I have to own. She has her role, whether she admits it or not my decision. So it's the relationship that is a problem. Now, ukishajua hiyo kitu, why do you keep going to that relationship?
I think, just you said it, you made me think. I think a lot of time we also, a person might say, yes, I take my part, I take part yangu responsibility, but you should also take yours. But I'm like, who said that they should? Kuna wengine, they're like, if that's how you feel, cool. Like, I don't see myself as the problem.
And you know what hit me right there? Ego. Now I know what ego is. So as soon as you say, I take my part, lakini, you've that's already ego. Erased what you've said. It's like, mtu anasema, pole, lakini. You've already erased the pole. If it's pole nilikuumiza, pole nilikuibia, najua nimekuingiza kwenye matatizo, naomba unisamehe. And you make peace knowing that kama atakusamehe, sawa. If it's conditional, sawa. If there's no kusamehewa, it's okay. But it's a process. Even till today, I'm still learning that. Nadia will tell you about the 12-step recovery process for any addict. It's a daily thing you do that is faith-based, very personal. It's about atoning, asking for forgiveness, and just going, you know what, every day I have to unlearn bad habits. I have to relearn the good things. Sunday is not just an addict. Sunday is also a very smart person, something I wasn't able to say a long time ago. Sunday is very resilient. Sunday is caring. Sunday now has boundaries. Sunday knows right from wrong. Sunday can say whatever Sunday wants to say.
So, by definition, ambayo Nadia alisema in terms of what a rehab is, kwamba we need to reintegrate you back to the society, ili maisha yako yaende. So, you did rehab. And then after that, you came back. Now, going back to the notions that we have, right? And I'm glad that we're unpacking this. Going back by the notions that we have, tuna assume mara nyingi, and this is where culture and context matters. Mara nyingi kwa quote and quote wa Tanzania tukupeleka rehab kwamba hali ishakuwa mbaya, tunaona umetuibia, umekuwa teja kabisa. And I'm glad umeongea ku functioning addicts kwa sababu functioning addicts kwa sababu mara nyingi these are not the people we expect them to be addicts. Tunaona wako poa kabisa, right?
Addiction haibagui.
So now coming back did you struggle to fit back into the society? Did you feel like kulikuwa kuna expectations fine about they were on you?
Yeah.
Did you feel like kulikuwa kuna trust issues and like watu walikuwa na kuangalia kama either kuamini au kuamini? And did you struggle with that? Or by the time you came back you knew exactly what you're setting yourself for? So
thank you for the question. Yani swali nzuri sana. You're really taking me back the last 2 years. I now enjoy reflecting when I make time for it. So I'll answer the first bit of the question. You have what they call sober houses. We have a lot of those in Tanzania. By the definition, sober house. So in that house, you are sober. How are you sober? Hamna sigara, hamna pombe, hamna gambling, hamna betting, hamna whatever it is with the addiction. So to Nadia and to myself, the question is, so you've kept the addiction out. But the question is, what led that person to the addiction? Is it a mental health issue? Is it a life issue? What is it? And you know who unpacks that? The psychologist, the psychiatrist, the addiction specialist. They unpack that with you. Asa, if you don't have those people, basically you've been locked in there for 3 months. Unanenepa kama ulikuwa membamba, utapungua kama ulikuwa mnene.
Wanakunyima vitu ambavyo.
And that's forcing you to, it's called dry sobriety. You just cold turkey.
Yeah.
So what do you think happens as soon as you leave?
Going back to
exactly.
Yani I was with people in rehab. Yani mtu tulikuwa tunachekeshana. Namwambia bana, kwetu kulikuwa naingia studioni ile baba pale. My second time in rehab. Yani sijui kwa nini mamangu hakunifuata. Yani like he said. And let me tell you why I found peace in rehab. Let me tell you, there's nobody honest in this world like an addict who has admitted their addiction. Yani utacheka, utalia, and you will envy that person. Because when someone tells you, I beat my wife, na sikumbuki, means they're blacked out. Alafu mwana huyo mke anakuja the next day to offer support. So you see a lot of grace involved as well. So wewe unajiuliza, how can I forgive myself when I've done so much damage? We used to have bosses come into the rehab facility to check on their colleagues. And then would have a sit down, huyu boss anaongea na sisi wote tunasali, and you go like, wow, your boss is paying for your rehab. In Kenya, National Health Insurance pays for government workers. And I think, you can't quote me, but I think you can't fire someone for coming to work drunk. In a trigger, swali kuna tatizo, wewe kama employer, mpe hiyo msaada. A lot of other countries do that. I hope we do that someday. South Africa, I know Western companies that have branches, they will give you a psychologist. My point is this, we have sober houses here. We also have psychiatric wards. Muimbili, Lutindi. And a psychiatric word means what? It means kweli your mental health has really deteriorated to the point that you're institutionalized. Hapo sasa ni medicine. It's less psychology. I think it's more psychiatry, which is the medicinal part. You know what the answer to all of this is? I'm one of the lucky ones. I was grieving 2 years after my father died. I spoke to a lady last year who lost her mother when she was 13. And she practically raised her siblings, 3 of them, and her father was finished, lost the wife. She raised them. She took them through school. She got them jobs. And in her 30s, during a PowerPoint presentation with the chairman of the board, alijikuta anaanza kulia. And she couldn't stop crying, and she panicked. And this story is incredible because the chairman put his hand up and she said, I've lost my job. He said, would you like to take a few minutes to compose yourself? And then you come back and tell us if we should proceed or we postpone. Wow. And she said, sikutegemea jibu kama hiyo. Like that's the empathy you're talking about.
Yeah.
And she said, may I have a few minutes to go and compose myself? And he said, hamna mtu anaondoka hapa. Tunamsubiri Nadia arudi. Atuambie hatua ambazo zitafuata. That's empowering the person to say, I am not judging you by whatever is going on. but let's work together. She came back, said, I'd like to continue. Continued, Maliza, standing ovation. She started crying again. She thought, oh my God, what is going on? These are tears of joy. Watu wameondoka, chairman kasema, Amba Nadia, just let's have a conversation. Said, it's now coming. You didn't want to fire me.
In front of everybody.
Kamkalisha, this is a true story. The chairman says, Nadia, if I may use your name as an example, I don't know what's going on with you, but I think there could be depression, there could be grief. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you something no one in this company knows. I am a recovering addict. I have not had a drink for 35 years. I talk to my psychologist every month. Here's his card. I will pay for those sessions should you wish to take them. But I really urge you to at least have one conversation and we'll take it from there. Otherwise, great presentation, great comeback, incredible. She got that help. 6 months later, got promoted.
Wow.
She's still seeing that psychologist today. And the diagnosis, grief. 20 years later. Maybe you got 2 years later. Now ask yourself, if I did not go to rehab, where my life was at that time is what we call step 1 of addiction recovery. My life had become unmanageable and I was powerless towards my addiction. You have to say that. Yeah. And I say it every day. At that point, I was a slave to my addiction. Which means if I did not go to rehab, or if I was sent to a sober house, I would have just kept deteriorating. And what happens is, and you could see me back then, I was really overweight, I was highly irritable. So you try to fake it until your body and your actions, just things explode. So we need to catch these things early.
Yeah, we do.
And you know how? If you want to be anonymous, be anonymous. Call me on Mwangaza or Sunday. Call Mind Matters.
Yeah.
Call Michael.
Yeah.
Talk to a friend.
Yeah.
I tell people, walking man has saved my life. I'm not going to lie to you. The most underrated therapeutic exercise ni kutembea. But sorry, your question was how is life after? See, umekutana na mwenzako.
It's so cool. We're good. I'm interested. This is very interesting.
I'm praising myself actually nimekumbuka because I can say.
But I remember it. I would have.
I can say that after mimi niko Sengerema yani. You know, like and then I'm like, where was I?
Yeah.
ADHD for you.
And that's constant CBT,
Yeah.
Tuongee lugha ambayo haielewi. So, life after.
Yeah.
So, I landed October 30th, last flight. I think I got home at 1 in the morning or something. My mom's house, I remember that hug, I'll never forget it. I was looking younger, slimmer, whatever. So it was good. And I went to church 2 days later. Me, I'm a St. Peter's English Mass guy. I went back to church. So, in a nutshell, in rehab, you had to write your life plan. And it touches everything. Employment, relationships, who do you ask for forgiveness, who do you not forgive, spirituality, service, everything, financial planning. So that's what I got. I had a financial planner, I had a life skills coach, I had a psychologist, I had a psychiatrist, I had a dietitian.
Yeah.
All of these people worked with me for 104 days, over and above YouTube videos, live chats. So you're given the tools. Huambiwi tu acha kunywa. That's not what I was there for. I was there to find out why I cannot focus. So my expectations were high. You figure I've done 104 days, dunia itanisamehe, I look good, people will be happy. Yeah, that wasn't the case. And I'm here to tell the truth. My psychologist told me the 80-20 rule. Expect 80% of your loved ones to not support your recovery, to doubt you. 20% will give you, endelea, you're doing well. So 80% is you. You become your number one cheerleader, your number one advocate, your number one fan, your number one advisor, me. And that's not easy.
It's not.
So I was unemployed for a whole year. I still have to ask my mom for an allowance. Thank you, Mom, for all those allowances. But that means I had to swallow my pride. Panda daladala. Tembea, you said you see me in Bezi. I think I've walked many parts of the city and I love it. That's how I could live. But I remember one guy, tulipishana Salenda Bridge, unakata Stanbic. So kuna bus stop pale.
Yeah.
Nice big Ford Ranger or something. We all know him, he's a very proud guy. Sana, kumbe ni kweli unatembea mjini bana, sisi washikaji wako bana, si tuambie tuchangie ununue IST bana, unataabisha. Like he was making like he's joking, but you're not joking. You're actually kind of insulting me.
Yeah.
Now, any recovering addict right from rehab, you're very sensitive. No one tells you that. Yani it's a very real fear. My answer to him, I said, bro, very nice car. Kenny, that money you want to contribute, why don't I give you the name of our executive director? I'm on the board of an NGO that works with street kids. We do a lot of good work now, watoto yatima and street kids. That money you and the boys will come up to, si ungepeleka watoto yatima wapate msaada. I have never seen someone drive off so fast. And I don't know where that answer came from. And I felt, that was a good answer. I wasn't angry, I wasn't pissed. And I was like, okay, and I started realizing, okay, I will get hit.
Yeah.
Before I did the Citizen X Spaces, I posted it on my WhatsApp status. A friend of mine wrote me, bro, what watakucheka if you keep talking your mental health student and then they'll take you seriously. I didn't take that to be malicious criticism. I took it to be,
concern,
hey, just be mindful what you say. That's how I chose to see it. 2 years ago, Jamaa is trying to. So you evolve. The more you tell your story, the more you understand my place. So this was my first experience. Other people trying to tell my story. So it's true. People can still remember me for being drunk, for using drugs, for lying, for borrowing money. Unfortunately, we look at people through their mistakes, our fears, and you don't let go of it. I'm trying to change. Change is not easy. It's a daily thing. I've made many mistakes. I've had lapses. I haven't relapsed yet, but I've had some lapses. But I've come to understand my 3 kids, especially the 2 younger ones, because they're in this country. When my son and my daughter see me, you know how it is. They're just happy to see that. So I told myself, I need to start looking at myself the way my kids look at me. That is a process, because I know the damage I've done, but I need to live with it. So I tell myself, the way my son's happy to see me, but because of football, my daughter is like, let's do this. I look at my life through their eyes. I wish others would see it that way. And I accept that some won't. And you know where I get my constructive criticism, my constructive cheerleading from? 80% of the time from strangers. I think because strangers don't know your history,
I think
they see you now, they see where you're going, they listen to where you're coming from. Man, every stranger who's called me, messaged me, now shukuru. Like that lady on Thursday morning, 5:30. Salama, how's it with your kids? Thank you.
I always tell people, Kwambani, I think the nicest people in the world, I find them at the gym. Like whenever I go to the gym, it's always keep going. It's always one more round. So come on, Mike, you can do this. Come on, man, one more punch. It's like when you go to the gym, it's never you're gonna feel like. I always tell people, like, sometimes you pretty much, like, now I enjoy going to the gym, like a lot. And for me, it's always come on, man, you're not where you were yesterday.
Remember, you're sweating.
Yes.
You're feeling pain.
Yes.
You're not at your best, but someone's seeing your effort.
That's the thing.
And that is what we get from Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, all these little groups, my psychologist. So you need to create this support team.
100%.
And this is the principle of Mwangaza. I started Mwangaza because I thought I need my community. I need to build my community. So I do AA once a week. I do Narcotics Anonymous once a week. It's not enough. I still have a lot of time on my hands. To prepare for this, I went online. Men. Looked what it was all about.
Yeah.
Before I do the sit-in spaces, I research.
Yeah.
So I'm taking an active role in my recovery. Now, the naysayers, those people who tell me, man, you're being too open, hautapata kazi, that's their fears.
Yeah.
So I'm learning to put space.
Yeah.
I will listen to you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your feedback.
I understand your concern.
I will go this way, I'll go that way. It's my choice. The consequences are mine.
Yeah.
So it's not been easy. 2 years. I left that employment. I'm trying to build Mwangaza or Sunday. And you know what I realized is 3 months later, I'm still here. Some wonderful people have pitched in and helped me here and there. They believe in what I'm doing. I have a vision of setting up my own rehab facility, doing it right, the very first one in Tanzania. And I have dreams now.
Yeah.
You know, I have a tattoo here, if you see. And I designed this.
Can we get a shot of this? I hope we're getting a shot of this. Yeah.
Let's talk about challenging culture.
Yeah.
So, this is very meaningful to me. And you know what this is? A baobab tree. What is a baobab tree? That's a magnificent tree. What you see up, you won't see down. But its roots are so wide and so deep. And this is where all the water is stored. So for me, there's a word here called satori. It's Sanskrit for enlightenment. The more I dig deep into my feelings, the more I dig deep into my mistakes, into my relationships, the more enlightened I become. And then, this is Arabic. The journey. Because recovery is a journey. Life is a journey. It's not a destination. And here there is faith, family, service. This was an exercise in rehab. What defines you going forward? And I said, you know what? I am reestablishing my faith. Spiritually, I was lost. I was bankrupt. Family. I cannot recover alone. They have supported me. Thank you, family. You continue to support me. And service. I regained that appetite again for wanting to help people one way or the other. Not the way I used to. Before, I'd borrow money to pay your child's school fees. I've done that. Were you that I was drinking with? But I figured, why should your child suffer? So I would suffer to help you. Now I help in other ways. And then this is the dream. I've started dreaming again. So my dreams are as far and wide as the branches. But this is a wave. That's life. Life will continue to hit me. I am under no illusions. I'm going to lose people. I'm going to lose jobs. I'm going to lose friends. But Nico, I'm strong. So this reminds me every day. You know, for me, it's meaningful.
It is.
And I tell people, man, rebuilding your life, changing your life. In this context, as an addict, I had to go through that. But I think functional addicts, I'll say it again, to you that is drinking, betting, gambling, and it's more than excessive, get help. You know, if you don't trust a psychologist, talk to someone who's been through it. Talk to your priest, talk to your teacher, talk to your fitness coach. These are people I'm trying to recruit into Mwangaza, by the way. Because I've realized kuna watu ambaye hawatataka kuongea na mimi au Nadia, lakini wataongea na wewe. If I give you basic psychosocial education, basic 1 hour, what to say, what not to say, what to pick up, it's enough for you to win that person's trust and help them.
It's true.
Anything that's above your head, you say, talk to Sunday and experience that depression. I'll talk. I say, hiyo sasa you need a psychologist.
Talk to Nadia.
Huyo mtu kwenda kwa Nadia direct ni ngumu. Akipita kwako, kwangu, kwake, they'll get there. They get something from you, get something. So I think this is what, it's that bridge that's missing. Any psychologist iko pale, the client potential iko pale, na nimeambiwa ma psychologist watakwambia you're crazy. The truth is, if you are a certain level of crazy, don't you want to know?
Yeah, exactly.
So Nadia, as you're winding up, I figured we could talk for days. So we've gone for what, 1 hour and a half?
Only.
So Nadia, as we're winding up, let me bring in Sunday first.
Yes.
I know Mongia Sana, but if a person decides to ignore everything we've said today, now Kombia, you wish for them to pick only one thing.
Okay.
So before you get to that, I gotta do this. I think
progress, not perfection. Progress.
Yes.
So I gotta ask you a couple of questions, quick fire question, right?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Your biggest regret?
Biggest regret, not asking for help and receiving help sooner.
So far, your biggest success?
Being able to tell the world that I'm a recovering addict and that I have mental health issues and it is okay.
When are you at your happiest at the moment?
I'm at my happiest 2 occasions, when I'm with my kids and when I'm walking or running.
Oh, wow. If somebody asks you, what is Sunday's strength right now?
Good one. Resilience. I'm tougher than I ever thought I was. And I'm growing stronger and stronger by the day. In fact, I am Aquaman, not myself.
You're taking that away from me.
Taking his name.
I don't know what I'm about to say next, kama ni kitu umeshajibu au nini. But through all this ordeal that you've been through, what is one thing that has surprised you about you?
Surprised me about me. That's a good one. So I think the quickest thing that comes to my mind is I can actually put myself first. Yeah, that has surprised me pleasantly. Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh, amazing. Now back to the original question.
Okay.
Which is pretty much mtu akiamua kuignore everything kama mmeongea for sana nusu tararara. What is one thing you'd like them to pick from the conversation we've just had?
Wanaume wenzangu, wanawake wenzangu, kama kuna kitu kimoja naweza kuwaomba, hata kama unadhani hauna issue, ongea. Tafuta mtu kuongea naye, alafu ukiona msaada haikusaidia, like it's not the right, uone kama umepata msaada ya kutosha, tafuta mtu mwingine. In other words, get a second opinion, get a third opinion. Tujenge tabia ya kuongea, kuomba msaada, na ukiona mwenzako, I have to say 2 things. Ya pili, ukiona mwenzako ana shida au nadhani ana shida, wewe sio daktari, lakini mwambie ongea na daktari. Labda ongea na Mwangaza wa Sunday watafute au Mind Matters, lakini umjali mwenzako. Kama wale marafiki zangu na familia walivyonijali, kunikalisha chini na kuniambia wewe tuko tayari, tafuta msaada. Yani tafuta msaada and get help. So yeah, wewe mwenyewe omba msaada na pokea msaada. Kuna kuomba alafu pokea. Na mwenzako, mjali mwenzako.
Nadia, what would be your take? Like, what would you be taking away from this conversation?
Everything. No, but really, one, I think this is my most favorite podcast.
Wow.
My most favorite recording so far. Lakini nadhani, in one way or the other, we are all capable. So, as a community, tukumbuke kwamba tatizo la uraibu or addiction sio la Nadia or Michael or Sunday
au CEO au polisi.
Sisi wote tuna uwezo wa we are capable of falling into addiction wote. Some of us more so if there's a genetic predisposition, lakini wote, and any other mental health concern. Usiseme tu Michael ana depression ukajiona wewe you are not
immune.
You're not immune. Not me. I see a psychologist. I mean, I've been secondary traumatized, I've been depressed, I have my own fishbowl of problems. Lakini ni kuanza mwenyewe kujua kwamba na wewe pia una uwezo kupitia changamoto zote, kama utavoumwa, kama utavupitia stresses na changamoto za afya ya akili nazo, you're not exempt, you're not immune. So kama community, kama society, kama individuals, tuanze kubadilisha ile narrative ambayo tunaikubali sasa hivi. Najua it's easy kusema okay, lazima tuwe hivi na hivi, na whatever the status quo is, tunaenda nayo kwa sababu ni rahisi kuenda nayo, because that is the ideal, we're wanting that, right? Lakini kiukweli binadamu our lives are a series of mistakes, and mistakes don't make us losers or failures.
Makes you human.
It makes you human, and mistakes are opportunities to learn. Unajifunza kuhusu wewe, najifunza kuhusu Sunday, najifunza kuhusu Michael, najifunza kuhusu Pablo, right? It is learning opportunities. Kumbuka ulipokuwa mtoto, hukuzaliwa tu umetoka hapo ukaanza kutembea. Umenyanyuka, umedondoka unyobamu, ukalia, ukanyanyuka tena, ukatambaa, ukafanya, you fall, you get back up. So kumbuka that resilience ambayo ulikuwa nayo, kwa sababu usingekuwa na hiyo resilience as a child, leo hii usingeweza kutembea. So give ourselves grace kwamba tutapitia changamoto nyingi, zingine zitatuzidi, zingine hatuna resources za kucope nazo, lakini duniani kuna watu wanazo hizo resources, wanaweza wakatupatia, kama ni Sunday, kama ni mimi, kama ni Michael, kama ni mtu yoyote mwingine. Kuna watu ambao wanazo labda hizo resources kwa sababu wamepitia tayari hizo changamoto, au wameenda shule, wamesoma, or whatever, wamezi experience, wameziona, right? So we won't have all the solutions. Sometimes tunahitajiana, and that's why I love our culture as Africans. We have our whole concept of Ubuntu, I am because you are, and we are holding each other, and we keep each other accountable, we hold each other's hands, we walk. Because if I move forward, you're also moving with me. Because if we're tied to one another, mimi nikifika pale na wewe nimekuvuta. Imagine sasa tukaanza kutembea actively, kusema okay, simama na wewe, simama, tuendeni zetu. How far we will reach. Tunaanza kuipoteza I feel as a society, as a culture, maana tunataka kuadopt ideals za watu wengine ambao sasa hao wengine ukiwatazama wanataka kuadopt hizo ideals tulizokuwa nazo. So let's not forget who we are and where we are coming from as just a collective African community, wa Tanzania. Najua kuna culture zetu zingine, tabia zetu ambazo watu wanasema wa Tanzania wako hivi. Najua recently we had our neighbors there walitusema a certain way. Lakini kiukweli tuna strength zetu. So ni muhimu, like what you're saying, your caring is a strength, but at that point you didn't recognize it, acknowledge it kwamba hii ni nguvu yangu, and used it appropriately to serve yourself and to serve others. No matter it was serving, you're serving others to your detriment. Sindio?
If I am well, others are
exactly
better.
So tuanze kuangalia nguvu zangu mimi kama Nadia, na ambapo na mapungufu nisiwe ashamed kusema hapa nimeshindwa, and I need help, na kutafuta mtu ambaye unaweza ukamwamini, you have the trust, unaona kwamba huyu anaweza akanisaidia, na kama umeenda kwake na akashindwa, isiwe mwisho wa mstari. That's not how it works, right? There's a next person and the next. So tuanze kubadilisha hiyo narrative. Na kama wewe ni mzazi, anza kuibadilisha na community chako, your own small village, which is a huge village.
Kuongea watoto wako I love you.
Yes.
Sasa kwa mama. Sijasahau challenge.
Exactly.
I'll take it. I'll talk to my mom.
Yeah, and everyone speak to your say I love you. At least you can choose who to start with. Break that ice with one person. Kama utaanza na mama, au utaanza na baba, au utaanza na mwanao. Kama hujamwambia mwanao, tafadhali please mwambie, usimjengee traumas. Right?
Usijali jibu. It's your message.
Exactly. It's for you.
One thing that you got from this?
Oh, wow. I've never had something.
No one's ever actually asked him. I have never asked him. I'm
You
so
don't
glad.
care. I was about to close the podcast.
Yeah, I got
I was already. Oh, you really.
See, this is why this is my favorite episode.
I'm telling you. The struggle is to pick what to say, because I picked a lot.
That's a good struggle.
Yeah, it's this. But I think one, when you say progress is not perfection, it made me realize, one, there are things that I was thinking about when nilikuwa najua kwamba ni tatizo langu mwenyewe. I still have issues with. I am one of those people ambao I'm all out to help people, and I always try to put a lot of other people first before me. And I usually look at it as kindness, but then maybe it could actually be because I have some issue that I haven't dealt with. So it really got me to think about a lot of things. It got me to think about going back to therapy and try to unpack more. It's been a while since I went there, But you really and I think your story may resonate with a lot of things that you've said here in terms of the struggles I've had. Made me think about it. I really grieved when I lost my dad. It made it like, or when I tried to really show up for people, am I doing it for them? Or it's more about me because it makes me feel good, or it makes me feel important, and it makes me feel like, you know, when you appreciate it, it makes me feel good.
Good to ask yourself this question.
Yeah, it really got me. So I don't know if I know, I mean, I'm going to tell my mom that I love her.
Good.
And my brothers and my sister. But I think for me, it's more like, Michael, maybe it's time for you to also, you know, go and unpack some of the things that, it's at least for me, it's been that. It's been like, I need a call for action. Come on, Michael, go out.
Self-love, 48 hours and 2 hours where just you, or you and a few other people were thinking the same thing, because you have to remove the noise. You know, I took rehab positively. I said, you know what, I will never have this chance again. Let me take everything I can, and if you may allow me, I have a lot of people I have to thank because I didn't do it on my own. Obviously my family, that's my primary support structure. People don't have that. I was with people who their mom said, I've had enough, so they have to deal with that as well. My family, thank you. My mother, my kids, doing an incredible job raising them as I'm rebuilding my life. It's you know, the seesaw goes that way. So I'm grateful. My secondary support team, that's Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, ADHD. I have another Christian group as well. All of you, man, they help. And then my tertiary support team, that's the professional psychologists, psychiatrists. I talk to them every month. I don't wait until there's a crisis. I don't. That's not my reaction anymore. I'm proactive with my... Nikienda siku 3-4 bila kulala, I call my psychologist, we try and pack it, and now I know how to eliminate. I used to struggle with anxiety and depression. That's being managed well. Thank family, thank friends, and professionals. I think it's a thankless job to be a psychologist, a psychiatrist. Hamna mtu anawapa pongeza na shukrani. Mimi sio mteja wako, but I know the sacrifice you make, na najua kubadilisha mawazo ya mtu sio kitu ya sasa hivi. It's a really difficult job. Na ningependa watu wawe open kuongea na psychologists na pia na wenzako ambao wamepitia haya mambo. Na ni mila yetu, wanawake wanaongea sana kuhusu haya mambo, wanaume bado tunahitaji kuchangamka kidogo, lakini sisi hatuishi Uingereza, hatuishi Marekani. Kuna sehemu ambaye bana unahitaji appointment, ulipe ili uweze kuongea mambo yako. Lakini sisi bana mitaani tunaongea, lakini naomba tuanze kuongea vitu pia vya maana. Ukimwona, mimi siwezi kumwona mwenzangu siku hizi amelewa, anaingia kwenye gari yake na funguo. Nimewahi kuchukua funguo kutoka rafiki yangu mmoja. Na haya yote kwa sababu ya miaka 2. Kabla hapo tunapuuzia hivi vitu, sio vya kupuuzia.
If somebody wants to reach out to you, like I'm an you're like, you know what, maybe I need to speak to Sunday. How do they reach out to you?
Utanipata kwa social media, kama ni X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, ni Mwangaza _ dash ya chini WA dash ya chini tena Sunday on social media.
We'll tag the post for people who watch.
Lakini pia natumia personal yangu ambaye ni @hali ya Juma. Why is that? Hali yako Juma. I actually feel that's the message I'm going to tell people. How are you doing? Kwenye lugha yetu sema habari yako kaka. Za familia, za kazi. There's meaning in that. Now tuseme hiyo intentionally. Lakini anza na website yangu www.mwangazawasunday.co.tz. Utaona articles nimeandika, tuna load ma video za watu. I put all my live shows pale Jumanne na Alhamisi saa 1:15 hadi saa 12 utanipata kwenye Instagram live. Naongelea story yangu, stories za watu wengine ambao wananiruhusu kusoma hizo story. Na pia namba yangu naiweka wazi 0788664508. Nipigie, tutembee. Napenda kutembea na kuongea. Mwisho wa siku umepunguza mafuta kidogo, umetoa jasho, na hata kama uongei angalau umetoka nje.
100%. So yeah, and this is the end of our episode kwa siku ya leo. Like Nadia said, probably I've enjoyed the conversations,
Yeah,
man.
thank you,
And for me, because like I said, it really got me to think about maybe I should go back to that room and had conversation kujaribu ku unpack a lot of stuff that I thought either I've dealt with or I thought they're serious issues or ambazo I've been keeping them under the rug.
We are one crisis away from addiction.
Always.
We are one crisis away from mental health decline.
Yeah.
There is no addict who doesn't have mental health issues.
100%.
I am convinced. Lakini watu na mental health kunawezekana wanaelekea huko. They may not necessarily have addiction, but they are definitely going to go in that direction.
So continue. Na kitu kingine unaweza ukaangalia like Michael, I'm a proponent of people seeking support, but sio kila kitu, because changamoto zipo na tuna tabia tofauti ambazo zinatufacilitate kuwa na afya ya akili nzuri, na kuna tabia zingine ambazo zinatupeleka towards the other end of the spectrum, kuwa na afya ya akili ambayo imeterereka. Sio terereka is the word.
Nimekuelewa, lakini tumekuelewa.
Iliyoshuka yani. Ambayo ukishuka sana unaweza kuingia sasa kwenye magonjwa ya akili and etc. Lakini sio kila kitu yani I don't want you to overanalyze yourself. Sema kwa sababu me I'm overhelping, labda kuna issue. Sometimes there is no underlying deeper issue. It's just that's your strength. Wewe ni mtu wa watu. And people wako comfortable kuongea na wewe.
Ndio.
Umuhimu ni kujijua mimi ni mtu wa watu. It's a strength. Like your ADHD, anyone with a developmental, it's a superpower.
Once you know it and how to use it.
Yeah,
It is a superpower.
She said
right?
that on the pod.
But I need to know how to use my superpower. I like to speak about Naniliu, Superman. Superman has whatever those laser eyes. Anajua. Akitoa miwani anaweza kuharibu kila kitu, destroy. Lakini hiyo superpower inaweza kumsaidia kusaidia watu kubadilisha vitu. But anaitambua, and so anajua kwenye context nyingine sihitaji kuvua miwani beam through everything. I put on my glasses. So ile strength can also be a disability at the same time. Ni muhimu tu kujua naitumiaje to my benefit, to the benefit of the people that surround me. And so sometimes there isn't any deeper issue. Sometimes it's Mungu amekuumba wewe mtu wa watu, and that's your strength, and that's part of who you are. Lakini nijue jinsi ya kuitumia ili isiniumize na isiumize watu. But also go to therapy. You keep us alive. This is how I can take my kids to school.
100%.
So please speak to us. Speak to professionals. Na mwingine kama you're unable, like also this type of insight, saa nyingine hutaweza kuifikia mwenyewe. You need someone who's gone through and understood the mind and understand all of this. Kukusaidia kubadilisha perspective.
So you have the podcast, I have the lived experiences, we're your psychologist, kuna mwingine ambaye yani
we're all
wote tufanye kazi pamoja.
We are an ecosystem.
We are.
Yes, 100%. Guys, Ubuntu. I am because you are. Guys, I don't think there's anything more for me to add or from us. Come on, we enjoy the episode and we hope we enjoy, but I think the most important thing is people are telling the truth. So this is Sunday's truth. It doesn't have to be your truth, but at least you're trying to show you, no matter what you're going through, there's always light. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, as long as you're willing to put in work. So, catch us at Man the Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Let us know what you think about this episode. Now, like I said earlier, kama kuna mtu mwingine au kuna story, there are things you think we should speak about more. Tukiwa na aim ya kujaribu kuunpack na kufundishana zaidi sisi kama wanaume. Let us know, send us a DM, and we'll make it work. That's it from us. At Man the Podcast on Twitter, at Man the Podcast on Instagram, link kwenye bio, YouTube channel, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Boomplay, Spotify, Audiomack, and any other place ambazo you can access the podcast. Go listen to this one and enjoy it out. Till next time, peace.
I like that.
Men, the podcast.